Pessoal, não vamos esquecer de acionar o sino.
Olá, combatentes do canal da Guerra. O vídeo que vocês vão ver agora é uma apresentação minha na FAAP, a Fundação Armando Álvares Penteado, no último dia 28 de março, onde eu falo sobre golpes de Estado, revoluções coloridas, etc. Esse vídeo faz parte de um ciclo de estudos regionais da América Latina, esse que vocês estão vendo aqui na nossa tela, de maneira que a gente vai apresentar diversas outras produções com painelistas do mundo inteiro. Mas antes de iniciar, eu quero fazer um agradecimento à professora Lourdes Zilberberg, que me convidou, tá? E o Rafael Possic, que indicou a gente. Pessoal, muito obrigado aí, espero atender as expectativas de vocês. Então vocês assistem agora a minha apresentação, na sequência eu já lancei o vídeo com todos os painelistas do dia, tá? Tem um ex-embaixador da França, diversos professores, a jornalista Silvia Colombo, vai ser uma coisa muito legal. E a gente vai poder trazer agora todas as apresentações da FAAP que vão dar para vocês um quadro bastante amplo do que está acontecendo na América Latina. Então vamos ao nosso vídeo.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to me to talk to you today. Well, our lecture is about the absence of sovereignty and the downfall of democracy. I believe it's very hard to maintain a democracy society when a lot of stranger states make interventions over military, over institute, over all the beliefs of the society. It's the greatest problem of Latin America. We are not free. We are not free. Our democracy is manipulated by great powers. I believe that the moral doctrine is always over our heads. So today I will make a presentation that will show to you that the democracy in Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Colombia and other countries is always, all the time, over menace from other countries. Well, aqui, qual ponto? Ah, tá. You know, now you hear a statement about the planning in Washington to overthrow President Getúlio Vargas in 1945, and what interests were behind this coup. This video is in the Brazilian Senate. What you hear in this video, so I apologize for you that the video is in Portuguese. I could not make the translation. But basically what he says at the overthrow of Getúlio Vargas in 1945 was planned in Washington, D.C. Let's see the video. Como é que faz aqui? Ah, tá.
Para fazer uma visita aos Estados Unidos, onde queriam agradecer a ele pelas cirurgias que ele tinha feito em oficiais americanos, até pela vida de oficiais americanos que ele salvou. E no fim dessa visita, ele houve um almoço em Wall Street, e quando terminou o almoço, o anfitrião, um empresário americano, pode ser até que fosse um dos irmãos Rockefeller, mas o Lutero, quando me contou isso, não tinha certeza. Saiu com ele, a pretexto de levá-lo até o carro, e no meio do caminho disse: olha aqui, eu queria ter uma conversa sem testemunhas com o senhor, para lhe avisar o seguinte: o presidente Roosevelt está gravemente doente, está desenganado, tem poucas semanas de vida. Eu quero que o senhor avise ao seu pai que assim que o Roosevelt for morrer, o seu pai vai ser deposto. Porque grandes interesses econômicos aqui não concordam com as coisas que ele fez. Com a construção de Volta Redonda, ele está suprimindo exportações de aço que os Estados Unidos faziam para o Brasil. Mas pior do que isso, ele vai concorrer com o aço americano em outros mercados. Eles nunca engoliram isso.
Chegamos a ser o 6º maior produtor de aço do mundo depois. É evidente que isso conflita com interesses econômicos americanos.
O Brasil perseguiu, sob diversos regimes políticos, um projeto chamado Nacional Desenvolvimentista.
It's very sad. Thank you. It's very sad, but it's the true history, not the things that we read in the books. Well, at the same time, we had the position of Vargas. We also witnessed the overthrow of Jacobo Arbenz in Guatemala, and Juan Domingo Perón in Argentina, and Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran, in a space of few years, 2 or 3 years.
O Lutero foi convidado.
Well, this is the overthrow of Jacobo Arbenz in Guatemala. You see, I will speak later, that there is a roadmap, a script in all these overthrows, all these depositions. They follow a script. It's the same script written 80 years ago and is working until now. Well, here you see the mob, né? Basically, what's the script to overthrow a president or every kind of leader? You gather a mob. You say to the mob that the government is corrupt, is incompetent, or anything, 20 cents, anything you want. So the mob goes to the city. They broke things, they put fire on houses, they hurt people, sometimes they kill people. They killed people in Ukraine in 2013. And the army has to intervene. And the army goes, intervene, and overthrow the government. Sometimes they kill the president. This is the roadmap for the coup. The exception to all this case was in Ukraine. You see the movie. What happened in Ukraine? You have a high functionary of the Department of State of the United States, Victoria Nuland. She goes to Kyiv. And they pressure the government of Viktor Yanukovych to sign, European press Yanukovych to sign a document where he promised not to use the army to repress the movement. So all the rebels in Kiev, they have all the liberty to make the overthrow of the government. And it was a bloody coup. More than 100 policemen were killed. It was not a Pacific revolution. It was not a velvet revolution. It was not a revolution for dignity. It was a revolution for natural resources. Well, you see here Mohammad Mossadegh, who was the prime minister of Iran in 1952. As all you know, Iran is over a huge reserve of oil. So the American and British, they want to explore that oil. Mossadegh nationalized the oil. So they make the very old map. The military, a mob, you see a mob. The military goes to the street. A lot of generals surrounded Mossadegh, and so as he was overthrown, and he died years later in his house. He was arrested in his house. So 27 years later, Iran goes to the same way through the Islamic revolution of Ayatollah Khomeini. So it never worked to overthrow Mossadegh. Later comes Khomeini, and the things get very worse to the United States. Ah, tá, desculpa. Volta mais umas duas. Volta. Volta mais uma. Ah, tá, agora pode ir para a próxima. Well, now we're going to see a sequence of strong images in Argentina when the Navy aircraft bombed the Plaza of Mayo, and several people were killed in this bombing. It was a violent coup to overthrow the President Juan Domingo Perón. We must remember that American participation was very large, because even the American ambassador in Argentina participated in demonstration against Perón. Well, what was the case? You see Arbenz overthrown in Guatemala in 1954. You see Vargas suicide himself in that same year. You see Mossadegh was overthrown in 1953, and in 1955, Perón was overthrown. The coup in Argentina was the most violent as possible. The aviation of Argentine Navy, they bombed the Plaza of Mayo. A lot of people were killed. Pode passar, próximo. Olha isso. A lot of manifestants that were killed by the aviation. So the next, please. Here you see a woman that lost her legs. The next, please. Thank you. This is Ukraine. Thank you. Well, but all this government and these two, they have one characteristic. They were elected democratically. They go to the power through the vote. It was democracies. Not perfect democracy. I believe there is no perfect democracy. But all they were overthrown by the violence. So until now, I can ask for you, can the democracy, in not just Latin America, but other countries, survive against these menaces? It's a problem that you have to think all the days in your life. This phantom is everywhere. The violence to overthrow democratic governments. This is Ukraine. This is 2013. You see a tractor and you see the police. The rebels, they had a tractor. They have trenches. They have surgical centers. They have medics. And I ask for you, who was paying these resources? And I remember, Viktor Yanukovych, the president, was democratic elected. Okay? More than 100 policemen were killed by the rebels. It was not a Pacific revolution. Obrigado. More scenes of Ukraine. The next, please. Thank you, Doctor. Well, now you will see Victoria Nuland. She was a special envoy to Ukraine in the Maidan Revolution. So later you see the participation of Victoria Nuland in biolabs in Ukraine, and you see Victoria Nuland in Brazil. Doutor, pode passar esse vídeo para a gente?
When you're a high-ranking official talking about diplomatic efforts in Ukraine, the last thing you want to do is drop your guard.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, you know, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and US Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt. The exchange has since surfaced online, including the crude swipe at the European Union. The audio clip of a woman and man, said to be Nuland and Pyatt, hears them discussing strategies to work with the three main opposition figures.
I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, you know, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week. You know, I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
There is a suggestion for Nuland to contact Klitschko directly to play to his top dog sensibilities, while Nuland refers to getting the United Nations involved in a political solution. And that's where the unfortunate comment arises.
I'm obviously not going to comment on private diplomatic conversations, other than to say it was pretty impressive tradecraft. The audio was extremely clear. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. We're here from America. Would you like
Revolution.
Please take something.
Thank you for coming. This
was
was Nuland
name.
and Payat visiting Independence Square in Kiev in December, handing out food to protesters and police. This latest episode is embarrassing for the US and allows Russia to argue that the opposition is being manipulated by Washington, something that Barack Obama has always denied. The clip was said to have been posted online by the Russian deputy PM, but that has not yet been confirmed.
Obrigado, doutor. Thank you. Well, as you saw, Victoria Nuland goes to the Ukraine in the midst of a revolution, and she talks to United States ambassador in Kiev that she knows that Viktor Yanukovych was going to be overthrown, and she has a candidate, but European has another candidate. And so the ambassador asked her, and the Union European. So she says a word that I cannot speak here, but you saw in the video. She says Union European. Okay? But 8 years later, in 2022, the war in Ukraine has begun. So you see the Marco Rubio as senator. Now he's a Secretary of State of the United States. And Marco Rubio called Victoria Nuland in the Senate. And he asks her about the situation of biolabs in Ukraine. So you see her answer. Por favor, doutor. Muito obrigado.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
What I think got some people fired up is when she said, we're worried that the Russians will get a hold of these facilities, because that implies that there's something in those facilities dangerous. So I don't know if you...
Pode passar o próximo. Bom, agora isso aqui já é no Brasil, tá? Em 2022. A mesma Victoria Nuland, né? Well, this is in Brazil 2022. You saw for the purpose of the revolution in Maidan. You see the biolabs later. So you will see now Victoria Nuland in Brazil 3 years ago. Please. Obrigado, doutor.
Em entrevista exclusiva à CNN, a subsecretária de Assuntos Políticos de Joe Biden disse que os Estados Unidos confiam no sistema eleitoral brasileiro. Victoria Nuland está em Brasília, onde participa de reuniões com o ministro das Relações Exteriores, Carlos França, e conversou com o repórter Matias Brotero. Vamos ouvir um trecho dessa conversa.
Matthias, we did talk about your upcoming elections today and the high-level dialogue, and the message that we conveyed is that the United States has real confidence in Brazil's electoral systems. You have one of the best in the hemisphere in terms of reliability, in terms of transparency, etc. So all Brazilians should have trust in the systems and should participate.
Well, just going to the end. Victoria Nuland is attached to Democratic Party in the United States. She worked for Barack Obama and Joe Biden. You have to remember that the same Democratic Party make the military coup in Brazil in 1964. The same party. The president at the age was Lyndon Johnson. So we're going to the end. But well, I want to finish this lecture with a little piece of this movie, Getúlio. It's a magistral representation of Tony Ramos, and I want you hear what he said hours before he killed himself. Thank you.
Boa noite, senhores. Filha, eu estou há tantos anos no poder. Quase nunca me pediram algo para o país. Sempre me pediram algo para alguém.